Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Joseph Werner joining us again from his family-owned company. He's a therapist at Child and Family Consultants based out of Melbourne, Florida. It's called childandfamilyconsultants.com, and he's been helping so many for over 30 years, families and children alike. How are you doing? It's been a while.
Good morning. Yes, it's good to see you. We haven't had a chance to speak for a while, and glad to get a chance to talk with you today and to talk with our audience about some really interesting things related to children.
Yeah.
And I even have my little buddy up here.
I
His
was just
name
going to
is
say it's like the elephant in the room. For those of you on the Zoomcast, you could see he's got a baby who on the shoulder?
he's a little baby Yoda, or Grogu is his name, and sometimes everybody needs a little Grogu.
So
So
cute.
and Grogu is here to help us introduce the importance of playing, and not just of playing, but playfulness. Being able to be playful with kids is one of the things that we really work with parents and adults on doing, because uh, of course, the primary role model for kids in all things is going to be their parents and their caregivers. And sometimes as adults, we forget the importance of play in our own lives. And we all know that the way kids learn is through play. Matter of fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics says that in order for kids to really be able to use all of their skills and to be successful in life, they need to be creative and to take the skills that they learn in play and
Mm-hmm.
apply them to the rest of their whole life. And I think that's very true statement. And when we have kids come into our office here, one of the things that, of course, would always worry you the most is a kid who doesn't play. And so one of the first things that we want to do is try to understand a child by the point of who they are as a person, by what things do they like to play with. Do
Mm-hmm.
they like to play with, do they like to do coloring and drawing and arts and crafts? Or do they like to be out on the playgrounds all day? Or in this beautiful area of Florida, do they like to hang out at the beach? And their play skills also can tell you a lot about who they are as kids. Because, for example, different characters that children like reflect what their developmental stages are. So, kids who really like Blue's Clues, if people remember Blue's Clues,
I
um,
do.
that show is beautifully designed for children between 3 and 5 years of age. It's got bright colors, a lot of repetition. The action occurs within a child's house, which between 3 and 5, your house is the most important place for a child. And then, of course, you've got the sort of like the big brother there who's guiding the show. And so, kids who are really interested in that, it tells you that they're really working on the same developmental characteristics that somebody who's enjoying Blue's Clues is like. And just for another quick different example, if you really like Spider-Man is a great coming of age story. It's about a young guy trying to discover his powers, of course, after being bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yeah. Besides that point, yes.
That's
Uh-huh.
that's that's right. But he's trying to figure out who he is, who's his friends are, what are his responsibilities. How does he make friends, have relationships, and how does he combine responsibilities for his family and for his friends and for himself? And so, even though it's a superhero theme, it's really about growing up, and it's about coming of age as an adolescent. And so, when we see a lot of kids interested in that character, that gives us a clue that maybe those are some of the developmental concepts that they're working on at the same time. The nice thing about play, though, is also that the definition of play is that it's spontaneous, and you do it because it feels good. Sometimes one of the things that we forget as parents is that not all play has to be structured and organized, and we don't necessarily have to set up all of our play for kids. A lot of the best play that children do is when they're doing what some people would describe as free play. They're just out there and they are roughhousing with each other, and they're playing tag, and they're
Yep.
playing little ball
Sports.
activity games, sports and stuff. And it's unfortunate sometimes that I don't know if this you've ever seen this, but sometimes parents even get criticized if they're letting their kids just play outside and they're not supervised. And sure, the world is different than it was, when I was a kid, way long time ago. But still, sometimes as adults, one of the things we have to be careful about is kind of hovering over the kids. Some people even describe that as being helicopter parenting, because if we try to structure everything that kids do, and we were always trying to organize it for them, then the play loses some of that spontaneity and that creativity and that enjoyment for kids. And I give you a good example of that too. Now, everybody likes to, nobody wants to see a kid get hurt, of course, have a broken bone or contusions and, that type of thing. But one of the things that's happened, at least I know in this area of Florida, is that a lot of schools are getting rid of things like swings and teeter-totters. And you can go to playgrounds now and, they don't have slides anymore, or the monkey bars are only 3 feet off the ground. and the way kids learn about their bodies and how their bodies work is has a lot to do with how and when and where they play. So, going up and down slides and figuring out, laying on my back is a different way of going down the slide than going down on my tummy. And just how far can I jump from one spot to another? And how fast can I swing? And what's it like to swing if I'm hanging upside down versus, maybe trying to go really fast or go really high? And sometimes play naturally has to involve a little bit of risk. And because that risk is how kids begin to learn where their own boundaries in their bodies are. And they begin to learn, really just how fast and how hard and how far can I move my body. And interestingly enough, there's some research that shows when kids are doing outdoor play and playground activities, but where everything is super safe for them, they actually later on, as they get older, have a harder time figuring out where boundaries are. And sometimes they aren't as good in terms of assessing risk when they're older, because they never really had to assess risk out on the playground when they're moving their bodies up and down and in and over and under around. And yeah, sometimes there might be, little knocks and falls and so forth, that occur, but that's the way kids learn their limits. And they learn how to be able to understand what they're really able to do and what's maybe a reasonable risk and what's not. Another part of this too, and sometimes this gets misunderstood, is the need for kids to do a lot of roughhouse play. And especially around 4 years of age, kids go through a developmental period where they really need to expand and figure out how to move their bodies. And this is the time when, of course, when I was a kid, it was, maybe we were playing cops and robbers, or we were playing, we started really playing some basic ball games and kicking soccer balls around and so forth. Nowadays, I don't know if kids play Ninja Turtles, or they pretend to be some other superheroes, but it's that tussling and that roughhouse play and running after each other and catching each other, and sometimes knocking each other down and rolling on the grass and so forth. all of that roughhouse play is really important, and we have to allow kids opportunities to do that. The other thing that roughhouse play does too is that to some extent it also creates in kids a certain sense of empathy. I mean, if you fall down and you bump your elbow or scrape your knee, you internalize that and you get a sense of what that feels like. And then when you see somebody else out on the playground scrape their knee or fall down, then you begin to sort of feel the other person's pain by watching them and their reactions and seeing how they feel. And then the other part of that too, though, is you scrape your knee, you feel bad for a minute, perhaps there's even a tear, but you press down on the spot, you rub it, you get up and you go again. And the same thing, sometimes you give your friend a hug who fell down, and or you ask if they're okay, and you build that sense of empathy. And then the kids are back up and running and playing, and they're doing their tag or their hide and seek, that type of thing. And that's really important for social emotional growth and learning. It's probably not a coincidence that the developmentally kids learn a lot of empathy
Yeah.
at the same time they're first starting to do roughhouse play around 4 years of age. I think that there's really a connection there, but sometimes as parents and people, we worry about kids if they see them out doing that type of play. And we have a tendency also to want to jump in there and try to fix things for the kids the moment something goes wrong. And another big part about play is that it helps kids understand that they can take care of themselves. A lot of things they can sometimes do a little bit of problem solving.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and I don't know if you had this experience, Jill, but when we would go out and we would choose up teams to play wiffle ball or
Or
football or something like
kickball.
that, or
Yes.
kickball. Yeah, yeah, and sometimes we'd have to figure out the rules, and sometimes you debate the rules a little bit, and where are the boundaries, and so forth and so on. And so all of that social connections that came from choosing teams and making the rules and playing the games, and everybody kind of mostly staying within the rules. And yeah, occasionally there were arguments about where the ball went and what was fair or not, and you know you get those little disagreements. But if you watch kids play, they almost always work out the agreements if you give them a chance.
Mm-hmm. I watch my two kids every day. They're 7 and 9. Yeah, I get this completely.
Yeah, so you understand, because it's like watching. It's like when you watch your kids play like that, and they figure things out, and maybe they don't get it right 100% of the time, but most of the time this is what builds their ability to eventually figure out, how do I work as a member of a team or a group later on, whether you're talking about small groups in class, or even down the line working and collaborating with people on a job down the line. So it's really important that we give kids opportunities to have free play, and to um, figure out how to problem solve, and be creative and get along with each other, and take on different roles in their play, because this really sets the stage for the social emotional development that they're going to need when they get older. And if we all have the best intentions, but if we hover too much, if we structure too much, if we don't give kids enough opportunity to do that free play and that have that downtime, we might accidentally really be holding kids back from important developmental abilities.
Well, also, let me ask for listeners out there, how can we reach you? I don't even think we established, I'm sorry, that the website and the phone number. We went right into conversation today, which is a good thing. Tell us.
Okay, so here at Child and Family Consultants, we're always open to questions. We love to get questions from parents and caregivers, and even sometimes kids themselves. So the way to contact us, we have a phone number. It's 321-768-6800. And our email address is childandfamily@cfl.rr.com. And that's all spelled out, CHILDANDFAMILY at cfl.rr.com.
Perfect. And I have to just tell you something. I actually was in your city recently. February
Ah,
13th, I went down with my kids to Orlando, and then our babysitter from New York lives in Melbourne. We went to go see
oh,
her.
wow.
Yeah, I was so close, but we really only had a
Oh,
few hours. We went there to
yeah.
swim, and we went to the Dick's to go buy a Gators helmet for my son. So I got to see a little taste. We went to the Chick-fil-A, and that's now what I got to know about Melbourne. But it was beautiful and the weather was great. But if I was there longer, I would have stopped and said hi, just letting you know.
All right. Well, the next time you're here, I'll come down. I can show you some even more fun places than Chick-fil-A to eat, although I know the kids love Chick-fil-A. And so where some really good beaches are.
Perfect. Yeah, we didn't get to do any of that, but we did the Kennedy Space Center and some stuff in Orlando locally. All
Ah,
right.
excellent.
Well,
Excellent.
thank you for for always being here and we're excited. Now, you've been in business for quite some time and could you just give us an overview of, the people you're serving, the families, the children, and all types of children, correct?
Yeah, all types. We at Child and Family Consultants, we work with children from as young as infants. Once an infant is stable, if they've got some medical and developmental issues, I've sometimes worked with kids that I can just about hold in the palm of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we work on these really young infants, but we work with toddlers and school age children, um, teenagers, and we work with even some young adults. And we work with a wide range of abilities and needs. So we see children who have a diagnosis of, say, autism spectrum disorder, or attention deficit disorder, learning disabilities, also children who have mental health issues. So children with anxiety, depression, eating disorders. Um, so we're fortunate that we're able to help a lot of kids. And part of what we do too is in our name. It's child and family. So it's not just a matter of the say the kids coming in and us working directly one to one with the kids. What we really want to do is work a lot with the parents and the caregivers. The more we can teach parents and caregivers to understand their kids and where their kids are coming from,
Yep.
the more we can help the relationship between the child and the parents. And we one of our goals is to help all the parents learn to be really good problem solvers. So even when kids graduate from coming to child and family consultants, it doesn't mean that they may not have challenges,
Yep.
as they get older and down the road. But if parents understand their kids and become really good problem solvers, they can deal with those issues as they come up, as the kids age.
Absolutely.
So and we use a very play based approach, and we try to make things as fun for the kids as possible, and at the same time work in the areas that they need to improve their functioning, and again show parents how to do that. And sometimes it's showing parents how to play with their kids.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
they
Sometimes they're a
get
little
that.
old and out of it. I get it. I'm a player just by nature, by heart. I'm one of the kids. So
Yeah.
I with the kids every day and I love play. I love fun. So I'm just lucky. But then you have someone like my sister who's just not that way. And she's a little more serious, a little more stoic, a little more. And I'm just like always
Yep.
on the go. And she thinks I'm a child. And I'm like, but I kind of am. I guess it's good for now because my kids are young. I said maybe one day I'll grow up, but it's so important to be on their level and to relate with them for sure.
Oh, absolutely. The relationships are built by people doing things together.
Yeah.
And that's everything from parents reading books to their children, to going out and playing ball with their kids, to playing card games with your
Yeah.
teenagers, to and we forget sometimes that adults need to play too. We need that opportunity to relax certain areas of our brain when other areas have been working super hard all day long. and we need to stretch our bodies and see what we can do that makes us feel good. And play doesn't have to be something that's serious, and it doesn't have to be something that even is super goal
Yeah.
directed. It's just something you do to feel good for yourself. And when kids see their parents playing, that models also for them, that it's okay to play too. and
Yeah.
and and, and the importance of being able to play throughout the entire lifespan. Doesn't matter if you're 9 months, 9 years old, or 90 years old. And if you talk to people who are 90 years old,
True.
if
Yep.
you one of the things that you notice is that in their own way, they're all still playing.
Yeah. I agree. And I love, and I've gotten to meet quite a few of your staff members before. And I mean, the type of people you have working with you are all this way. They're just so kind,
Yes.
gentle, loving, fun, which really helps clearly with your clients.
Yeah, and because if you think about it, a lot of kids coming into the therapies, the most of the time the last thing kids want to do is to work on the things that's absolutely hardest for them.
Yeah,
Even kids not going to therapy, they spend most of their day
absolutely. Yeah,
working on things that they kind of know they can do, or it's just a little bit harder. Um, so a kid who's been in school, say, 6 or 7 hours, the last thing they want to do is go to see somebody where they're going to have to sit at a table and do more worksheets. So, so you have to find a way of enticing them in, and that's the key to therapy, is enticing children and not compelling them. and
yeah.
and, and that's another important thing we try to help parents understand too. How do you entice your child into some of the things that you'd like to try them to do, and also follow your child's lead rather than
Wow.
necessarily just try to get them to do what you would like them to do.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing all this. We still got
Yep.
5 more minutes in the show. I just
Yes.
want to remind everyone, of course, all the ways we can reach you. And also, by the way, childandfamilyconsultants.com. That is the website. You can always go there or call, what is the office number?
You can call us at area code 321-768-6800. And you can't forget the area code because we are in the Space Coast. And the area code is 321, like 321 blast off.
I never realized that. Is that
Yes, that's
why? Just curious.
that's why. Yeah, that's why they came up with that area code.
That is awesome. Yeah, so we got to go to this Kennedy Space Center, and after just an hour, my son started to get very sick. He was vomiting. So we had to
Oh,
leave. I was so disappointed. I got to do like the
oh,
the Hall of Fame, the museum, and
yeah,
that was
yeah,
basically it. I'm like, I wanted to see the Challenger. I wanted to do so much, but I'll bring him back to 3-2-1 one of these days.
yeah.
And could
Bring
you
it. Yep. Good.
also share the work that you're doing? And I know you're the director. You're on the board of an autism coalition, correct?
Yeah, I'm the director of the Brevard Autism Coalition in Brevard County, and our goals is to bring together health professionals, educators, service providers, along with parents and caregivers and individuals who have autism. As a matter of fact, we got several really good projects going on now to try to um, work with. We're actually even working with a journalist, and we're working with a larger group called the Brevard Disabilities Coalition, and we're trying to come up with ways to improve housing, because there just isn't enough housing, especially for young adults with disabilities. We're trying to work to improve transportation, come up with a Uber system for people with disabilities, and also in Florida, there's a lot of parents who actually qualify for things like respite care and for other services. But unfortunately, in Florida, because of the funding, families sometimes have to wait years and years and years before they can actually get those services, even if they qualify. So we're trying to work and educate our local state
Yep.
representatives to create better funding streams and pathways for families to get the services that they need, and not have to wait years and years and years before they actually can get the services that are so important for them and their kids.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that. And in our last few minutes together, how did you want to leave off with everyone?
Well, I wanted to leave off with a comment that we use at Child and Family, and the comment is there's two gifts that we should always give our children. One is roots, and the other is wings. We want to give our kids the roots and the boundaries and the safety and security, but we also want to be able to give them the wings so they can fly. And that brings us around to that opportunities to give them that free play and to be creative and to be themselves, because that's what's ultimately going to make them happy and thriving and functional adults. Roots and wings.
Oh, well, thank you again for being here, for
You're
doing
welcome.
so much. The whole staff, again, occupational therapy, speech therapy, you help those with sensory issues. And it's so great to have you guys here because you really do have that nurturing environment and great staff. So I urge everyone to give you a call, to reach out, and it's great getting to see you again here today. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Yes, I've missed our conversations. I'm glad we got connected
Me
today, and
too.
I'll be looking forward to seeing you next week.
Oh, good. We're back.
Yes,
Awesome.
I'm
Good.
pretty sure we're back next week.
Great. Child and
Okay.
Family Consultants.com. Joseph Werner, you're amazing. You're such a doll and you're such a genuine, true person who wants to help. So please reach out to him, or if you know anyone in the Melbourne area, of course, that needs his services. And hey, if you're out of the area and you're still listening to the conversation, call him. He can sure recommend someone, give you some advice, because that's the type of person who he is. All right, Joseph?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, and we really appreciate talking to people about all of these issues, because these are all close to our heart, and we'd like to be able to share what we know.
Thank you so much. You have a great day. And to all of our
All right.
listeners, stay tuned.
You
More of the
too.
show's coming right up. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.